Thank you for being here. Today, I want to share 10 simple rules, not theories, not philosophies, but practical rules that can change your life if you follow them with intention. These are principles that have shaped leaders, built businesses, restored relationships, and awakened potential in people who once thought they had none. Rule 1, take full responsibility for your life. Responsibility is one of the most liberating forces a person can experience. It doesn't always feel good at first because it asks you to remove excuses, let go of blame, and take a hard look at where you currently are. But responsibility is powerful because it gives you the keys to change. As long as someone else is responsible for your circumstances, your boss, your parents, the economy, your childhood, your partner, you are stuck waiting for someone else to improve so your life can improve, waiting for perfect conditions so you can begin, waiting for people to finally treat you the way you want to be treated. But life transforms the moment you say, if it is to be, it's up to me. Many people misunderstand responsibility. They think it means taking the blame for everything. But responsibility isn't about fault, it's about ownership. You may not be responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for how you move forward. You can't rewrite your past, but you can rewrite your response. One man told the story of how he grew up in a home filled with chaos, arguments, instability, poor decisions. He said for years he blamed his upbringing for his lack of progress. I didn't get the chances others got, he said. I didn't have support. Some of that was true. But the day things changed was the day he realized if he kept blaming his past, he would never change his future. He decided to become the kind of father he never had, the kind of worker he wished someone had taught him to be, the kind of person he once expected others to turn him into. Responsibility is the turning point. Once you accept it fully, you start reclaiming your power piece by piece. When you take responsibility for your mindset, you stop letting emotions dictate your decisions. When you take responsibility for your habits, you stop repeating cycles that hold you back. When you take responsibility for your choices, you stop saying, I had no choice, because you learn you always have one. And when you take responsibility for your results, you stop being surprised by where you end up because you realize the path was created one decision at a time. People who embrace responsibility walk differently. They carry themselves with quiet confidence. They don't wait for handouts. They don't wait for motivation. They don't wait for someone to rescue them. They rise, learn, adjust, and create. And the moment you choose to join them is the moment everything becomes possible. Rule 2, set clear, specific goals. A life without clear goals is like a ship drifting on open waters, moving but not arriving anywhere meaningful. Most people don't fail for lack of ability. They fail because they never define the destination. They wake up, go to work, come home, and repeat the cycle without stepping back and asking, where am I actually going? Goals turn vague wishes into measurable direction. They give your energy purpose. They transform your days from random activity to intentional effort. And clarity is everything. If you say, I want to be healthier, that's a wish. If you say, I will walk 30 minutes every day and reduce sugar for 90 days, that's a goal. If you say, I want more money, that's a hope. If you say, I want to increase my income by 20% in the next year by learning a new skill and taking on an additional project, that's direction. Studies on goal setting repeatedly show the same remarkable truth. People who write down very specific goals are far more likely to achieve them. They don't just dream, they define. One young woman shared how she kept saying for years that she wanted to start a business someday, but someday never came. She had ideas, but no clear target. One day she sat down and wrote, launch my online store by October 15 with 5 products ready for sale and a marketing plan in place. That single act, clarity, triggered action. She made a list of tasks, created a timeline, and suddenly the dream wasn't floating in her mind, it was anchored to a plan. She hit her launch date early, and she said something beautiful. The day I wrote it down was the day it became real. Goals simplify life. Instead of being overwhelmed by everything you could do, you start focusing on the few things you must do. Instead of drifting from one idea to another, you begin moving in a straight line, and instead of feeling lost, you feel engaged because there is something ahead pulling you forward. When you have goals, you walk with intention, you make decisions more easily, you manage your time more wisely, you say no more confidently because you know exactly what you're saying yes to. Goals don't limit you, they guide you. They are the compass that turns effort into progress and dreams into achievements. Rule 3, improve yourself. Daily growth is not an event, it's a habit. It isn't something you stumble into, it's something you choose deliberately, consistently, even when life is busy or uncomfortable. The truth is, nobody transforms their life overnight, but everyone can transform their life over time. The difference lies in what you do daily. If your habits align with your goals, progress becomes almost inevitable. If your habits contradict your goals, frustration is guaranteed. Improvement doesn't require giant leaps, it requires steady steps. Think about the power of compounding. If you grow just 1% each day, you become 37 times better in a year. That number seems impossible until you realize it's built on tiny actions. Reading a few pages, practicing a new skill for 15 minutes, choosing a healthier meal, listening to a podcast instead of gossip, spending time with someone who elevates you instead of drains you. Small steps don't feel impressive in the moment, which is why many people underestimate them. They want quick results, dramatic transformation, instant success. But a single day rarely changes your life. What you do with your days consistently always does. One man shared that he felt stuck in his career, 10 years in the same job, same position, same paycheck. He kept saying, "No opportunities ever show up for me." Then someone asked him a question that shook him awake. "What have you been learning in the last 10 years? He paused, thought for a moment, and realized the painful truth. He wasn't stuck in the same job for 10 years. He had repeated the same year 10 times. That day, he made a promise to himself to improve daily. He committed to reading 20 pages a day, taking online courses on weekends, and asking leaders at work for feedback. Within a year, opportunities did appear. They weren't miracles. They were the result of growth. Growth attracts opportunity just as stagnation repels it. Something incredible happens when you invest in yourself consistently. Your confidence increases because you're no longer the same person you were last month. Your perspective widens because you're exposed to new ideas. Your habits sharpen because discipline becomes familiar instead of foreign. And your value rises because people around you begin to notice your evolution. Daily improvement isn't just about acquiring skills. It's about building the person who can handle the success you want. Many people want the reward without becoming the kind of person who can sustain it. A promotion requires leadership skills, emotional intelligence, patience, and communication. A business requires resilience, financial knowledge, discipline, and problem solving. A healthy relationship requires empathy, maturity, and accountability. Growth today prepares you for the responsibilities of tomorrow. And the beautiful part is that growth is always within your control. You don't need permission, you don't need perfect conditions, and you don't need to improve everything at once. You just need to get a little better than yesterday. Improvement becomes easier when you view it not as a chore, but as an investment. Every page you read, every skill you practice, every healthy choice you make, every hour spent learning instead of scrolling social media, these are seeds. They may look small, but given time, they grow roots, then branches, then fruit. And one day, people will call you lucky, without realizing that your luck was built one ordinary day at a time. Rule 4, choose your circle wisely. Your environment silently shapes your destiny. You may not notice the shift day by day, but over time, the people you surround yourself with determine your standards, your mindset, your energy, and even your expectations for your own life. If you want to predict someone's future, look at their circle. Who you listen to, who you trust, who you spend time with. These choices matter more than most people realize. You can put a strong seed in poor soil and it still won't grow, but that same seed flourishes in rich soil. Humans are no different. You could have potential, talent, intelligence, and drive, but if you're surrounded by people who constantly complain, criticize, minimize your dreams, or encourage destructive habits, your growth will slow, and eventually your vision will shrink to match theirs. On the other hand, when you spend time with people who challenge you, support your goals, hold you to higher standards, and speak hope into your life, you rise almost automatically. A young entrepreneur once shared that before his breakthrough, he spent most of his time with friends who had no interest in improving themselves. Their conversations were filled with excuses, negativity, and comfort seeking. Whenever he mentioned his ideas, they laughed or brushed him off. He didn't realize how much it affected him until one day he met a group of people who talked about goals, disciplines, strategies, and opportunities. For the first time, he felt inspired rather than drained after spending time with others. He said that single shift, changing his circle, did more for his growth than any course or seminar he ever attended. The people around you either water your potential or wilt it. They either make your excuses feel valid or make your progress feel urgent. They either raise your standards or lower them. And the truth is, you don't need a huge circle, you just need the right circle. You need friends who tell you the truth, not just what you want to hear, mentors who see further than you do and guide you with wisdom, peers who celebrate your success instead of feeling threatened by it, and role models whose lives remind you of what's possible. Choosing your circle wisely also means having the courage to distance yourself from environments that limit your growth. This doesn't require anger or drama, just clarity. When you protect your environment, you protect your future, because your circle isn't just a group of people. It's a mirror reflecting who you are becoming. Surround yourself with greatness, and greatness becomes natural. Surround yourself with stagnation, and stagnation becomes comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of growth. Your circle shapes your standards, and your standards shape your life. Rule 5, master your time. Time is life's most precious currency, yet so many of us spend it carelessly as if it were unlimited. The truth is that every minute you waste is a minute of your potential slipping away. You cannot earn back lost time, you cannot negotiate with it, and you cannot save it for later. Yet, paradoxically, the people who understand time realize that control over it is the single most powerful lever in shaping their destiny. Mastering your time is not about doing more, it is about doing what matters most. It is about making choices so deliberate that each hour becomes an investment in your dreams. Many people say, I don't have time. When you dig deeper, you realize it isn't about lack of time, it is about lack of focus and clarity. Every day we are offered the same 24 hours, but the question is, what do we do with them? High achievers have the same hours as everyone else, yet they accomplish more because they respect their minutes as if they were dollars. They plan, they prioritize, and they protect their attention. Think of your day as a bank account. Every task, every conversation, every moment is a deposit or a withdrawal. When you spend time on meaningless distractions, scrolling through social media, indulging in gossip, or doing things that don't move you toward your goals, you are robbing your account. But when you invest in activities that elevate your skills, nurture your relationships, or advance your purpose, you are compounding your wealth in life. Consider the story of a young professional who felt overwhelmed by the constant pressure of work, family, and social obligations. He felt like he was moving constantly, yet achieving nothing. One mentor asked him to track how he spent a week of his time. He discovered that he was spending hours on tasks that could be delegated, meetings that added no value, and late-night entertainment that left him exhausted. With awareness, he began scheduling his day with intention: time for learning, time family, time for rest, and focused blocks for his most important work. Within months, he had not only achieved results he thought were impossible, but also regained a sense of peace and control. Mastering time is about boundaries. It is saying no to what is urgent but not important, and yes to what is meaningful. It is about creating routines that protect your energy and focus. It is about becoming the architect of your day instead of the victim of it. When you master your time, stress decreases, productivity increases, and opportunity begins to appear naturally. It is the foundation upon which everything else is built, because a brilliant mind, a great idea, or a strong dream is useless if you cannot devote the time required to bring it to life. Time is fleeting, but mastery over it can create a legacy that lasts. Rule 6, develop discipline. Above all, discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement. Motivation may spark you, excitement may push you for a day or two, but discipline is what keeps you moving when enthusiasm fades. The difference between someone who dreams and someone who achieves is often simple. The person who achieves does what they need to do, whether they feel like it or not. Life doesn't reward talent alone. It doesn't reward desire alone. It rewards consistent action, and consistent action requires discipline. Think about an athlete. A sprinter does not show up on race day expecting to succeed. Without months, sometimes years, of early mornings, sore muscles, and disciplined training, the pain of discipline creates the ease of performance. A young writer once dreamed of publishing a book. He told himself he would write when inspiration struck, waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect feeling. Months passed and nothing happened. One day, he realized that inspiration is fleeting, but discipline is reliable. He committed to writing 500 words a day, every day, no matter what. Rain, fatigue, or doubt could not stop him. Within a year, he had a completed manuscript. Discipline transformed intention into reality. Discipline is not about rigidity, it is about freedom. When you have the discipline to control your habits, your thoughts, and your actions, you no longer become a victim of circumstance or emotion. You no longer wait for motivation or luck. You create conditions for your success. It is built in small, repetitive choices: choosing to wake up early, choosing to read instead of watch television, choosing to practice instead of procrastinate, choosing to save money instead of spending impulsively, choosing to speak kindly instead of giving in to anger. Each choice strengthens your capacity for the next one. Discipline is contagious. When you consistently demonstrate self-control and perseverance, others begin to respect your reliability, trust your judgment, and seek your guidance. Your reputation, your confidence, and your results are all amplified through discipline. Without it, potential remains just potential. You can have talent, opportunity, and intelligence, but without discipline, you will drift and underperform. But with it, ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. Discipline turns your dreams from wishful thinking into inevitable outcomes. It transforms chaos into order, hesitation into courage, and fear into action. It is the tool that allows you to take control of your life, one deliberate decision at a time. And the most remarkable truth about discipline is that it is a skill anyone can develop. It is not reserved for the naturally gifted or the lucky. It is built, strengthened, and reinforced with daily practice. Every small act of self-mastery compounds, and eventually, the life you desire becomes not a question of chance, but a question of discipline. Rule 7: embrace failure as a teacher. Failure is not the enemy of success. It is its greatest ally. Yet most people fear it, avoid it, or treat it as a personal indictment, when in reality, failure is simply feedback. Every setback, every rejection, every mistake is a lesson disguised as discomfort, waiting for someone courageous enough to learn from it. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, who famously failed thousands of times while trying to invent the light bulb. When asked about his repeated failures, he said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." What distinguished Edison was not his talent, but his perspective. He saw failure as information, not as defeat. Many people let fear of failure paralyze them. They refuse to try, refuse to risk, refuse to step outside of comfort zones because the possibility of falling feels too dangerous. Ironically, the very thing they avoid is the very thing that would teach them how to rise. Failure is a mirror. It shows you where your methods are weak, where your mindset is limited, and where you need to adjust. It strips away illusions and forces you to face reality, and reality is the first step toward improvement. Take the story of a young entrepreneur who launched a small online business. Her first attempt failed miserably. Orders were minimal, marketing strategies didn't convert, and she felt humiliated in front of her friends and family. Most people would have quit. But she chose to treat her failure as a lesson. She asked herself, what went wrong? Where can I improve? How can I adapt? She implemented the changes, learned new marketing strategies, optimized her products, and relaunched. The second time, her sales doubled, then tripled, and eventually her business became profitable beyond her expectations. Embracing failure also builds resilience. Every time you recover, you strengthen your ability to endure future challenges. You become someone who refuses to give up, someone who persists when others quit. Failure teaches humility, patience, and grit. It reminds you that success is rarely immediate, but progress is inevitable if you stay committed. And the beauty of this approach is that it changes how you see risk. Instead of fearing it, you approach challenges with curiosity, asking, what can I learn from this? Instead of, will I survive this? Life rewards those who learn quickly, adapt constantly, and persist relentlessly. Failure, when embraced, stops being a source of shame and becomes the ladder to growth, insight, and eventual triumph. Every great success story is built upon countless moments of failure, and every individual who rises above mediocrity understands that the path to achievement is paved with lessons learned the hard way. Rule 8: take action relentlessly. Action is the engine of results. Dreams, ideas, intentions, and plans remain invisible until you act. Many people spend more time thinking about what they want than actually working to achieve it. They overanalyze, wait for perfect conditions, wait for motivation, or wait for someone else to give permission. And in the meantime, life passes them by. Action is not always glamorous. It is often uncomfortable, uncertain, and full of risk. Yet it is only through action that momentum builds. Consider the story of a young woman who wanted to become a writer. She spent years drafting ideas, collecting notebooks, and imagining herself as a successful author, but she never typed a single chapter. One day, she made a simple decision to write 300 words every day, no matter how uninspired she felt. That small, consistent action was the spark. Momentum grew, her chapters multiplied, and eventually she published her first book. Without action, talent remains hidden and potential remains unrealized. Relentless action is also about consistency. It is not enough to work hard once or occasionally. Results come to those who persist day after day, even when progress seems slow. Action compounds, just like effort invested in growth or learning. Each step forward makes the next one easier and more natural. Another example can be found in the life of athletes who reach the top of their sport. They do not achieve greatness through occasional workouts or sporadic effort. They achieve it by showing up, training, practicing, and performing relentlessly. Even when tired, even when discouraged, even when the world doubts them, they take action. Action also conquers fear. Fear thrives in the absence of movement. When you act, you confront uncertainty, and every small success strengthens courage. You realize that the things you feared were not insurmountable, and that you are capable of more than you imagined. It is in action that ideas transform into results, skills transform into mastery, and dreams transform into reality. Waiting for clarity or perfect conditions is a trap. Those who act relentlessly understand that clarity comes through movement, perfection comes through iteration, and success comes through courage applied consistently. Life does not reward thought alone, it rewards effort in motion. And when action is coupled with persistence, it becomes unstoppable, creating opportunities that were invisible to those who waited. Rule 9E, cultivate gratitude and positivity. The mind is a garden and your thoughts are the seeds. What you plant and nurture grows. If you focus on negativity, complaints, and scarcity, that is exactly what will flourish. But if you cultivate gratitude, positivity, and appreciation, your life transforms in ways that cannot be overstated. Gratitude is not just a feel-good habit, it is a powerful engine for emotional and mental strength. It rewires your perspective, enabling you to see opportunities where others see obstacles, hope where others see despair, and potential where others see limits. Consider the story of a single mother who worked 2 jobs to support her family. Life was challenging, exhausting, and often unfair. She could have easily fallen into resentment, but she made a deliberate choice each morning to focus on what she had rather than what she lacked. She thanked her children for their smiles, she appreciated her job for providing stability, and she celebrated every small victory. Over time, her mindset shifted. She noticed new opportunities, became more patient with herself and others, and built relationships that supported her growth. Gratitude does not erase challenges, but it changes how you respond to them. Positivity, similarly, is not naive optimism. It is a deliberate focus on solutions instead of problems, on hope instead of despair, on what can be done instead of what cannot. People who master positivity are not immune to setbacks. They experience the same losses, mistakes, and difficulties, but they approach life with resilience and clarity. Scientific studies have shown that gratitude enhances mental health, improves relationships, and even strengthens the immune system. By focusing on what is going well, you literally train your brain to notice opportunities rather than obstacles. It also attracts others. Positive people draw positive energy, ideas, and relationships. Negativity isolates, gratitude connects. Imagine 2 colleagues facing the same setback. One complains, laments, and blames others. The other assesses what can be learned, appreciates the support they have, and plans the next move. Who do you think will find the solution faster? Who do you think will inspire others to support them? Cultivating gratitude and positivity is not passive, it requires conscious effort. It begins with small acts. Keeping a daily journal of 3 things you are grateful for, speaking words of appreciation to those around you, and consciously reframing negative situations to extract lessons. Over time, these habits reshape your entire life. They transform adversity into fuel for growth, fear into courage, and limitation into opportunity. Those who master gratitude and positivity realize that happiness is not something they wait for. It is something they create every single day. Rule 10, give back and serve others. Success is not measured solely by what you accumulate, but by what you contribute. The highest form of fulfillment comes from giving, serving, and lifting others. This rule is often overlooked because society teaches to focus on self-interest, personal gain, and individual achievement. Yet the truth is, purpose and joy multiply when they are shared. Consider the story of a businessman who had achieved financial success but felt empty inside. His days were filled with meetings, profits, and accomplishments, yet none of it sparked lasting satisfaction. One day, he volunteered at a local community project and mentored a struggling youth. The impact he witnessed in that young person's life was immediate and profound. The joy he felt was incomparable to any business victory. By giving, he realized that his life mattered not just for what he could take, but for what he could offer. Giving back is not always about money. It can be your time, your knowledge, your skills, your encouragement, or your mentorship. Every act of service ripples outward, often in ways you will never fully see. People you uplift today may become leaders, innovators, and change makers tomorrow. By investing in others, you create a network of goodwill, support, and gratitude that enhances your own life while elevating those around you. History is filled with examples: philanthropists who built schools, innovators who shared knowledge freely, and leaders who invested in the growth of their teams. None of them were just successful for themselves. Their legacy was amplified through service. Serving others also reshapes your mindset. It shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance, from selfishness to empathy, and from fear to compassion. When you help others, you realize that life is bigger than your own struggles. You see possibilities you had overlooked, and you gain perspective on your challenges. Small acts of service can have monumental effects: teaching a child to read, mentoring a colleague, listening to someone in despair, or volunteering in your community. These acts not only change lives, they transform your own. Purpose and fulfillment emerge naturally when your life contributes to the betterment of others. Giving back is the ultimate multiplier. It strengthens relationships, builds character, and creates impact that lasts long after you are gone. And perhaps the most powerful truth is that the more you give, the more life tends to give back, not always in the ways you expect, but in ways that nourish your soul, expand your opportunities, and solidify your legacy. Service is the final, essential ingredient in a life well lived because it ties every other principle together. Gratitude, discipline, action, learning, and growth all reach their highest expression when they are directed toward helping others rise. As we reach the end of this journey together, I want you to take a moment and reflect on everything we've explored. 10 rules, 10 principles, 10 powerful truths that, if embraced, have the ability to transform your life completely. They are not vague ideas. They are practical, actionable steps drawn from the lives of those who have dared to rise above mediocrity, from stories of ordinary people achieving extraordinary results, and from the timeless laws that govern success, happiness, and fulfillment. Remember that mastery begins within you. Your mindset shapes your reality, your choices determine your destiny, and your actions define your legacy. Each of the rules we've discussed is a tool, a compass, and a key. Master your time, because every minute you invest wisely compounds into extraordinary results. Develop discipline, because it is the bridge between dreams and achievement. Take responsibility, because you are the architect of your life, and nothing can hold you back unless you allow it. Embrace failure as a teacher, because every setback carries the seeds of a comeback. Take action relentlessly, because ideas without execution are like seeds that never grow. Cultivate gratitude and positivity, because your perspective shapes your experience and attracts opportunities. And give back, because a life that serves others is a life that fulfills the deepest human longing for purpose. But understanding these truths is not enough. Knowledge without action is like a candle in the wind. It may flicker briefly, but it cannot illuminate the path forward. What I challenge you to do today is to truly commit to applying these rules step by step, moment by moment, decision by decision. It is in the small choices you make daily that your future is built. It is in showing up when it is hard, in taking that action when it feels inconvenient, in keeping the right attitude when the world seems unfair, that you separate yourself from the crowd and move toward greatness. Your life is your message. Your habits, your attitude, your work, your generosity, they speak louder than words. The person you'll become is created in this very moment by the thoughts you think, the choices you make, and the actions you take. There is no magic, no secret, and no shortcut that replaces commitment, discipline, and consistent effort. But there is a promise: if you adopt these rules, if you embody them fully, life will respond. Opportunities will appear, resilience will grow, relationships will deepen, and your sense of purpose will ignite a fire that nothing can extinguish. So I ask you to rise today. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for the perfect conditions, and don't wait for someone else to give you permission. Take the lessons, the principles, and the power that you now carry, and use them to create a life that is extraordinary. A life where fear does not dictate your choices, where failure is a teacher rather than a prison, where your actions align with your highest vision, and where every day is an opportunity to grow, to give, and to achieve. Your potential is limitless, your dreams are valid, your time is now. And the life you desire, the life you are capable of creating, begins with the decisions you make in this very moment. Stand tall, commit fully, take action relentlessly, and let these 10 rules guide you toward a life of purpose, power, and extraordinary fulfillment. The journey is yours. Step forward and claim it.